Hello, I'm super excited about today's episode. Welcome, welcome. This is CityClips Live. We're focused on North Florida business and tech, and we have our 108th episode with Michael Dalby today, President and CEO of the Greater Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce. So, thank you so much for joining us today, Michael.
You bet, Julia. Good to be here.
And I know we've had a little slight technical issue earlier, and I'm glad we did the tech check thing. So please bear with us if there's any slight delays. It'll catch up eventually. But so far things are looking good. And before we dive in, let me go ahead and give a quick intro of Michael Dalby for those who aren't familiar. He is president and CEO of Greater Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce, leading efforts to grow the region's economy, support businesses, and foster public-private partnerships. He brings over 2 decades of experience with chambers of commerce and economic development organizations across the U.S., having held leadership roles in Naples, Columbus, Ohio, and at the University of Texas at El Paso. Michael focuses on creating opportunities for existing industries, attracting new development, and enhancing the quality of life for businesses and residents in Tallahassee. So thanks so much for joining us today.
You bet. You bet. Happy to.
So quick, let's go back in time. And you went to the U.S. Air Force Academy, right?
Yeah, I did.
So if you can dive in a little bit about where did you grow up? Where are you from originally? And then what made you decide to get into the U.S. Air Force?
Sure. A little bit of the origin story here. Okay, so I grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas, a place called Stephenville, Texas. There's a part of the Texas A&M system there, Charleston State University. But during the time when I was a kid growing up, my dad actually worked on the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. So our around the table discussions were about aircraft. My dad was in the Army Air Corps way back during World War II. And so I kind of had that in the heritage there, and then got an opportunity to on a trip to Colorado. They said some group that I was with said, "Hey, we're going to stop at the Air Force Academy," and checked it out. Thought that looked like a pretty cool place to go to college, and then started working on towards that process. You have to get a nomination and go through the process there. So the first year of the academy is pretty tough because you're like the bottom of the totem pole. You're the dirt, and you got to work for everybody else and do all kinds of stuff. Plus, go to class and do all the other activities. And then the other 3 years, now you're getting leadership opportunities and being able to go to different military installations and different projects. And so it's a great experience. So graduated from there and then was in the Air Force for about a little over 10 years. I worked in intelligence. It was a great experience to be able to work in the Air Force and then do the intelligence side of the operation. I went back and taught at the Air Force Academy for a little while, and then before eventually getting out. And when I got out, I wasn't quite certain what I was going to do. And so I knew there was such a thing as a Chamber of Commerce. And I thought, well, I'll go work with them for a little bit, and then I'll get a job in the business world somehow, somewhere. And once I got into chamber work, my first job was really more in economic development. Second job, a little more economic development in chamber. Third job, it's kind of like, I think this is what I'm going to do now for the rest of my working career. And so I stayed in that and got my certifications in various ways with chamber work and economic development, and then just kind of brings you forward to here. I had a number of jobs, different states, New Mexico, Texas, Indiana, Ohio, Florida. And so, yeah, a lot of experience, and it's all been a great fun, great working with so many different business people and community leaders and all across the country.
That's wonderful. There's been a nationwide search for you, and I from what I was told, was at least, I don't know, 100 candidates that they looked at, and the selection committee did a great job, obviously, and I really appreciate how you've been very approachable, and really not hesitating to meet with anybody who has asked and requested a meeting with you. So you really are here for the business community, obviously, and been very welcoming. So I hope it's felt the same way and reciprocated when you moved out here. And also, I got to meet your wife, super friendly. But yeah, you've been in Florida multiple times. Are you happy to be back in warmer Florida?
So previously, I led the Naples Chamber down in Collier County, which is essentially a county chamber. And South Florida is one part of Florida. South Florida is very different than North Florida, and this is a great part. This is a great part of the state, and I feel real fortunate to be here. It's a great community. I can tell you, as an outsider coming in, it's very welcoming. Very had that experience of just you come in, you're trying to learn all these different things, new neighborhoods, new ways of getting around, trying to make new friends and all, but a good community. It's a pretty community. It shows really well. The rolling kind of this part of Florida, people don't think about having rolling hills and trees, lots of trees, and you just don't think about that. You think more of the beach and the flat kind of a thing. So having had the experience of working in different parts of Florida has been great. It's been good for me and good for my wife Georgia and I to kind of be back over here. And so we're happy to be here and happy to be working in Tallahassee.
I guess you could say it's cooled down a little bit going more north because
yeah, just a little bit, a little more seasons. Yeah, that's okay. All right, all good.
So would you say were milestones or things that you contributed in past chambers, and what have you noticed to be successful or has really helped the greater community because of your role in the chambers that you serve?
Yeah, chambers are really, we're obviously business associations, and the business community, the private sector is a major component to any community. That's where most of the jobs come from. That's mostly where people get their benefits come from. So the business community, their contributions are a big component of just the overall fabric of the community. So what the chamber does best, I feel like, is when we can bring the voice of the business community, the private sector together with nonprofits, with government, with just communities and neighborhoods to try to solve challenges within communities. So one of the jobs when I was in Texas, we were in a smaller community in the western part of the state. So not the built up kind of Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, San Antonio area, but more away to the west. And we had a military installation, and that was in danger of possibly being closed during one of the base realignment and closure rounds. So the chamber came together with a lot of other components of the community to see what we could do to try to make sure that our base stayed strong and stayed a big vital part of our economy. And so I was familiar with military installations, so that part helped, but it was really the passion of the business community who was willing to bring their, it's kind of their time, their talents, and their treasure. They put their money towards the efforts to hire lobbyists, to hire for resources that we needed to be able to make our case and work with all the other components of the community. So that was a great experience. We were able to keep that military installation going. It's still going today. And as I left there, went to Indiana. I was on right across the river from Louisville, Kentucky. And so that's the Ohio River that splits Indiana and Kentucky. And we needed 2 new bridges. And it had been going through like a 3 decades process of trying to get this project to come together. Couldn't ever get it off the ground to all match up. But was able to be part of, again, bringing the business community in, who was willing to say, hey, if we have to go to tolling to get this bridge, we're willing to do that. We had 2 different parties on either side of the river, one Republican, one Democrat, dominated on either side. We had to work with them, both states. We had to work with the feds to get the money through the Department of Transportation. So huge effort resulted in like about a $4.1 billion project that was built 2 new bridges across the Ohio River that I really felt proud of the chamber's work there. I think as you come into Florida, when I was in Naples, we had never passed the sales surtax for infrastructure. They had tried 2 or 3 different times, had failed. But we tried under my watch, and with the chamber, a lot of other organizations kind of coming together, we were able to get that to pass. It passed 51 to 49, so barely, but just enough to get us the funding that we needed to be able to address a number of infrastructure issues that had kind of gotten pushed off to the side, mostly due to hurricanes that had come through that had just kind of slowed everything down. But we felt like, hey, we need to speed up this process, address issues like, housing, particularly workforce housing, address mental health issues that we needed some more infrastructure to handle in the community to be able to take care of individuals with mental health issues. Then transportation projects, some other infrastructure things that were kind of mundane, but you really needed to have working well to have a good, strong community. So those are kind of things that I've worked on where you see like where the chamber is a part of not just helping the economy grow, but it's a part of helping the community be strong, thrive, and ultimately probably increase our economic impact within our community.
You and Eddie, the board chair, have been doing a great job also, like showing a unified effort, collaborative effort to work together and to take action and make a difference this year. Not just talking about things, right? So
Right.
excited to see where things are going to go this year and beyond, because I'm sure it's going to take more than a year for things to change in a certain direction. Um, so, what would you say is the focus? And you've been saying that with the annual breakfast, and even recently,
Yeah.
with NEBA, um, jobs, right, and workforce development. What are the things that you want to make an impact on for sure?
Well, first off, because we're a business association and we have about 1,100 businesses that are members of the chamber, represent probably somewhere around 50 to 60,000 employees. So one of the first things is have a good economy, continue to have a strong economy here in the region, and you've always got to be pushing that forward as opposed to just kind of like sitting down. You can't rest on your laurels and go, well, we got a good economy today. It looks fine right now. We have to be building the economy and working at how we build that economy, keep it going. Because the economy that Tallahassee has right now today, that people may look around and go, hey, we really like this economy. Things seem to be good. It wasn't that way 20 or 30 years ago. They had to make those processes happen to build the economy that you see today. We need to be building the economy we're going to see 10, 20, 30 years from now. So first and foremost, North Star for us is grow the economy, is make sure that we're working on creating economic opportunity. More economic opportunity means more jobs, more capability for individuals and families to take care of themselves, have those wages and benefits that can really help them to be great families and great individuals. And so that's one. How do we get there? You mentioned things like making sure we're doing work in workforce and talent development, working with our colleges, universities, school district, everybody around us to try to make sure we've got a strong workforce that's able to fill those jobs that are going to be coming in the next decades. The other part of this is really working with all the other elements of the community. So working with local government, helping them in their economic development efforts, helping them in the efforts to make sure we've got a great infrastructure, roads, bridges, water, sewer, stuff that electricity, things that are again kind of mundane, but it's stuff that you have to be able to have a strong economy. Work on the airport, see what we can do to help improve airport options and services. But a lot of that's a numbers game. I mean, you gotta have more. If you have more business and more business activity and demand for flights, you're probably going to see more flights come into the community. So just doing whatever we can to try to make sure that we're doing what we can do to help bring business to the table and make sure that we're growing the economy, providing the jobs, and having that economic opportunity for citizens.
Yeah, there's so much room for growth, and I mean they always say Tallahassee's like an island. You've got all these rural areas around, but like to me, I just feel like we're all gonna grow with it expand to each other. Like there's Jacksonville, there's Gainesville, there's the Panhandle, 30A. Everyone's growing.
Yeah, yeah,
And Tallahassee's pretty much in the middle. So according to my eyes, but yeah, no, it's really exciting to see and watch happen before my eyes. Really, Gage Street
yeah,
was just dirt. It was all like warehouses run down. Now you've got all these full development buildings, student housing, businesses in that area. So
yeah. I
yeah,
think it's significant seeing the growth of Florida State University. I mean, I'm a big believer in the role that universities play as an economic engine, not just the jobs they create, but think of all the talent that comes out of the university, not just the students, but also the faculty members, the researchers, all those individuals. They could be the next big thing in our community. They could have the next big company, the next entrepreneurial idea, the next piece of research that gets kind of formed here and then built from here, the infrastructure around it, the ecosystem for that particular. It's kind of like when we went to Alachua County and saw what UF Innovate has done there and St. Martin Center, all those kind of things. That's all around biotechnology. but they were quick to tell us that it took them 30 years to kind of work on this. It didn't happen overnight. And I feel like FSU is at that point now in their growth and their development that there's some great opportunities for us to build new economies off of what we're seeing right here in coming out of FSU, FAMU, TSC, any of those kind of idea generators. That's going to be a major part of our economic growth.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the universities. You also have great partners, visionary partners. So just bring them up here on your website.
Yeah,
A lot of them serve as board members, I believe.
correct.
So, what are you besides your one-on-one meetings with, business owners and other folks in the business community? Do you feel like the board as a whole is collectively on the same page? And it's hard to kind of rally the troops, so to speak, when everyone's got so many things going on with their businesses as well.
Right, right. No, we have a tremendous board of directors. It's a big board. Chambers over the years have kind of evolved where we have larger boards of directors. So we have about 40 members on our chamber board of directors. And it's great for me to see our board right now because having done this work for about 25 years, maybe when I first came in, boards of directors of a chamber of commerce would be typically a bunch of old white guys. It'd be like they'd all be in their 50s, late 50s, early 60s, something like that. And now, if you look at our board, I think we ran the numbers the other day. Our average age is like 45. A lot of them are the next generation of owners, operators, managers of businesses. They really see things kind of a little bit differently, and they want to see that vitality within the community because they're going to be the ones who kind of pass this off to the next level there. So I think that what you see is a board that's very engaged. We've had great conversations and discussions with our board recently at our board meetings where we throw out kind of visionary discussion topics and just to see kind of, okay, what do you feel like on this issue? Where do you feel like we should be in 3 years from now? What do we need to address to get where we want to be in 3 years from now or 5 years from now or more? Having that feedback, you just see the energy in the room and you see this desire to, hey, we've got a great community. We want to make it even greater. We want to be able to continue to develop a community. You want to do it in smart fashion. It's not just, pave over everything. That's nobody wants that at all. And business owners in particular have tremendous investment that they've made in the community. So they want to make sure that our community stays great, it stays looking great. So address the issues that we need to address. Sometimes they're challenging issues, but it's like, hey, as a community, we need to come together to work on them. But we also need to be looking for that opportunity that's out there. Whether it's concentrating efforts on our downtown infrastructure and making sure we got a great downtown, whether it's looking at our region around us, whether it's Gadsden, Jefferson, Wakulla, whatever it may be around us, they're all part of, like you said, this kind of Tallahassee metro area. And we need to be working with them too and being partners as we look at trying to keep this economy and even our rural area economy strong. So all of that's kind of part of the way that they view kind of Tallahassee and the next generation. So it's great. I sometimes I refer to them like a next generation board because really as it's really changed over time and you're seeing that next group of individuals stepping up and providing their leadership and their ideas into an organization like the Chamber.
I'm so glad you brought up economic growth too, because one of the things you mentioned that you are looking forward to that's coming up is the Chamber Economic Forecast. And that's very important, right? That's something that you highly recommend people plan on attending.
Yeah, it's one of our signature events. It's a great opportunity. We'll have now I'm going to blank on a name here, but it's an economist with the Florida Chamber is going to be speaking to us. And anytime you can have these economic briefings, it just gives everybody a feel for, okay, what's happening both right around us in our metro economy, but what's happening in the Florida economy, what's happening in the Southeast region, what's happening nationally. And you get those opportunities. And this is kind of the economic briefing season. We just had the one from kind of ULI had their kind of real estate briefing, which was great. We'll give another briefing on that, what's going on in the economy. There'll be others that'll happen around this time frame. These are opportunities to kind of better understand what's going on in the economy, Some things are within our control. Some things are kind of outside of it. But we need to be doing whatever we can to try to work together to grow jobs, grow economic opportunity, and and realize a lot of this is leveraging the assets that we uniquely have. I think when you look at other areas of the state, there's a lot of the metro areas in the state are having tremendous growth. They're really seeing strong economic activity. Ours is good, but it's kind of plateaued, kind of leveled out a little bit. And so what we want to try to do is like say, okay, where's our next growth opportunity from a job standpoint? When I talk about growth opportunities in the economy, it's not necessarily just adding a bunch more people and a bunch more retail. We love our retailers. It's all a part of our services economy and the B2C companies and B2G. That's another, the business that provides services to the government. It's a big part of Tallahassee's economy. But we also want to see those kind of like manufacturers, those new economic generators that are bringing new dollars into our community, starting those new jobs, providing those jobs that give that kind of a higher skill, higher wage job. So it just increases that individual economic opportunity. You're really talking about the next generation in terms of it just coming up and having that job opportunities that many of us benefited from. So we want to make sure that we're doing those things to always work with each other, know the economic environment, know what we're dealing with, but look for those ways we can leverage singularly unique assets that are here in Tallahassee to say, hey, we can be that center point, focal point for that industry.
What are you noticing that people are asking you now? I saw that you were able to go on a tour. I think it was they're from Miami, but British consulate.
Yep.
I think I saw that there's a photo of you taking a tour of the Mag Lab with them, so that was good. I mean, the Mag Lab, of course, is one of the unique things about Tallahassee, too. Is that something that we as a business community as a whole also should try to, help focus on?
Yeah. No, having the Mag Lab here is, like you said, I mean, it's one of those unique assets in the community, unique assets in our country. And so try to figure how you can leverage that asset. Now, of course, Dan Foss, Turbocore is here, great company, and here primarily because of the Mag Lab. There may be some other companies that we can bring in here that have that associated connection there with the Mag Lab. But I really think of it too as it goes beyond just the Mag Lab. It's all those research laboratories and operations that are happening within the Innovation Park. The FSU Innovation Park has tremendous research and development resources that are very attractive to outside industry that's looking to try to test and evaluate different processes. The Center for Applied Power, I think I'm going to mess that up. CAPS.
Yes, CAPS.
Yeah. You've got wind tunnels that are there. You've got great assets, research assets that then we have outside industry comes in and says, hey, we don't want to build something like that ourselves because we don't need it all the time, but we'd like to come and get some time with your laboratories and your researchers to help us better understand the process that could help our company. They pay for that. It's not, we don't just offer it up for free. The university has them pay, but it's a great opportunity for people to get to know Tallahassee and maybe start put some other investment here in our community based upon the research and the work that they're trying to do. But it's also what comes out of those laboratories, the Mag Lab, the wind tunnel, the power systems, all those things. Maybe there's some researchers that are come out and say, hey, I've got this really cool intellectual property here, something that's patented. I'd like to try to build that into a company. You saw that we did some work with a company called Persica. So there again, some researchers come out of the university, and then they go to Ignite, FSU Ignite, which is the incubator accelerator there on the Innovation Park campus. They're doing well. They're raising money. They keep going off forward. We want to see companies like that. If they catch fire, we want it to happen, not literally. We want it to happen here in Tallahassee and don't have to go off someplace else. We want to see that investment become here in Tallahassee. And that could be the next big thing. Who knows? You really don't know which ones are going to be the strong ones, are going to be able to create new jobs, new and industrial sector. But these are the kinds of creative economy. If you think about Richard Florida, a book long ago about the creative class, these are creative economy pieces. You're not necessarily just bringing in jobs from outside. Or could be done any place, and now they're going to be done here. But this is like unique to us and creates an industry sector that's unique to Tallahassee. It could be healthcare, obviously, with the FSU TMH, their partnership. That's a great opportunity. Could be in defense industry. There's a lot of defense research that happens in the Panhandle area of Florida. If you go from Jacksonville to Pensacola, there's a lot of defense related jobs in our Panhandle region. So it could be something related to that. But you just look for those opportunities that you can really nurture, develop, cultivate, and keep around us here so we have the jobs here in this capital region.
That's really awesome. There's a couple more minutes and time for two questions I was going to ask you, because I noticed and I've seen the campaign for Jobs Ohio, and even your recent reshare of a post of like how a couple folks invested over 100 million into Ohio. Really, they're betting on Ohio to be the next B2B startup capital of the world, which I think is really neat. We don't have to dive into that article, but when you were there in Ohio, I'm sure there was like initiative for jobs and everything. Like, what have you found to be very successful, or what made a major impact over there? Because I'm seeing a lot of buzz coming from.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I will tell you that I was there like in the early 2010 timeframe, and for that it was really bringing together government, university, and business community. So first off, they decided, hey, look, let's don't be fighting with each other. Let's make sure we're all at the table. Let's make sure we know what each other's goals and objectives are, and let's see what we can do to really rally our community around a singular cause, which would be this idea that they felt like they were just getting passed over by Cleveland or Cincinnati for the big job opportunities. And they said, we've got a great place. We want to make sure that we promote and build an economic development ecosystem. And I'll say it that way. It wasn't just an economic development organization. It was like an entire ecosystem that was wrapped around. It dealt with community infrastructure. It dealt with political, making sure they were very engaged in the political arena. Even though, Columbus was the blue dot in a red state. Sound familiar? So, it's kind of similar to our situation here, but instead of fighting, really trying to figure out how to work together with that one. And it has been like almost I was adding this up the other day, it's like a 15, 20-year effort in Columbus to get where they're at today. And now you've got major Intel plant that's being built there, major defense industry that's come into the market as well, and a lot of entrepreneurial innovation activity that's happening there. So that's how you make that one happen.
Wow, that's really awesome. And I'll give you obviously the last few minutes to kind of give your words of wisdom. If there's any type of tip or something that you'd like to say, a leadership tip, I would love for you to end with.
I think in the times of leading chambers and being in the military, I think one of the things is trust. If you can create trust and you can create an environment of trust, and sometimes people have to be open and admit that, hey, we've got some warts, or we've got some things we don't do well, or we know that we may in the past have not worked well together. We can acknowledge all of that, but try to build that relationship of trust so that we can really go forward. It's way hard for any one organization to say, I'm going to carry this whole effort on my back and we're going to make this all happen. Typically doesn't work that way. You've got to partner with the entire community, find those areas of agreement of what makes the biggest impact, and then everybody trust each other that we're all working for the good of the community. And usually we can get there and make great things happen.
Well, thank you so much, Michael, and thank you for bearing with the tech issues, and we were able to squeeze in some awesome gems in there. Thanks again, and I will see you on the other side.
Perfect. Thanks, Julia.